Hello my friends and welcome to Greatest Rock and Metal. My name is Rich and on Greatest Rock and Metal I talk about all the greatest rock albums, metal albums and bands that I've seen live. I've listened to thousands of albums, been to hundreds of gigs, and I'm going to share my memories, my thoughts on the ones that are important to me. And maybe you'll want to discover some of these if you don't know much about them. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe on the red button so that you can see future episodes of Rock and Metal. And today I am going to be talking about Kiss. Kiss are my favourite band, and I first got into Kiss when I was very young. I say very young. I was an early teenager, but we'll come on to that in a minute. Let's just talk about the band Kiss itself. Very unique band. Their first album came out in 1974, self-titled Kiss album. And what made them unique were all four members of the band wearing makeup and costumes. Now there had been makeup related bands before, but none had ever created these superhero characters that these four very distinct personalities in the band had. You had the bass player Gene Simmons with the demon makeup. You had the guitarist Paul Stanley with his Star Child makeup, lead guitarist Ace Frehley, Spaceman, and drummer Peter Criss, Catman. What wasn't just unique the way they looked, it was the way they acted, and it reflected their personalities because these were four very different personalities. They had a slow start to their career, which all of a sudden got a big boost with their first live album, Kiss Alive. Further boosted then by their next studio album, Destroyer. And then it was onwards and upwards, but actually ended up being a very short onwards and upwards, because by 1979 the band had started to disintegrate a little bit. And by the early 80s, only two of the original four were left, Gene and Paul. Which leads us on to the period of time which I start to get into the band. Now, I got into the band in 1979 when I saw on TV an advert for a movie they were doing, Kiss Attack of the Phantoms. And the advert, first time I'd ever seen Kiss, and they're playing up to their superhero personalities, and in the background the song Rock and Roll All Night was playing. It's like I was blown away. I was into everything I saw. Went to see the movie with my mate, and that was the start of my love affair, which lasts to this day with the band Kiss. Now, the first album I bought, I think, was Kiss Alive 2, I seem to remember, closely followed by an album called Unmasked. But the first tour that I got to see them on was what I'm talking about today. Because the first tour I saw them on was the tour that was to promote this album, the Kiss Animalize album, released in 1984. Now, what was special about the 83-84 period is that now Kiss had taken off their makeup. They'd introduced a new guitarist in 83, a guy by the name of Vinnie Vincent, who didn't last very long, and he was quickly replaced by the guitarist who played on Animalize album, a guy called Mark St. John, who actually also didn't last very long either. In fact, he didn't even make it to the tour, and we'll talk more about that later. So, this Animalize album, now, many Kiss fans do not really rank this album very highly, but I do, not just because it was one of the first albums for Kiss for me, and because of the special place in my heart, because it was the first tour I saw them on. But actually, I think it's a really, really good heavy metal album. Big, loud, fast guitars, aggressive songs, and you know, if we look at some of the album, the tracks from the album, talk about aggressive songs. One of my favourites, Burn Bitch Burn. Now, in today's PC world, I know Burn Bitch Burn is not going to go down very well with people, but Kiss fans are not really PC. And Burn Bitch Burn, I love it. Big aggressive vocals, big loud guitars, and who cannot like the lyrics? I'm gonna put my log in your fireplace, baby, baby. Gene Simmons, I love some of Gene Simmons' lyrics on his songs. Another great track on the album, the opener, I've Had Enough, Into the Fire. This is where we're first introduced to the guitar playing of Mark St. John. Soloing all over the place, big strong riff, vocals from Paul Stanley, fast song, strong song, great song. That's followed by the single, track number 2, which was Heaven's on Fire. Famous for the introduction from Paul, where he kind of yodels the start of the song with a ooh. I think you need to listen to it, not listen to me. I had the 12-inch single of that song. Remember those 12-inch singles? Used to play it and play it and play it. Absolutely obsessed with that song I was. And it's still a great song. And it's a song, one of the rare songs from the 80s that still appears in their set list today. When they get to play, of course, because of this damn COVID. A fourth track I would pick, because I always pick out 4 tracks that I would recommend you go to on this album if you want to get a taste of it. And also I include links in YouTube for you to listen to them. Is Thrills in the Night, another Paul Stanley song, which was also another single. This is more of a hard rock song, and a good catchy sing-along chorus to that one. Okay, so that's about the album. Now let's talk about the tour. But before we do that, it's time for Rock T-shirts by the Sea. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. Now, this is the ticket from the gig. I don't know if you can see that at all. Now, what you'll see on this ticket as well is a plectrum, but it's not the standard Kiss plectrum, it's an unbranded one. Why? Well, because the guitarist who played on the Animalize album, Mark St. John, wasn't able to make the tour due to illness, and he was replaced by a guy who was meant to be temporary, but he ended up staying there for many years, a guy called Bruce Kulick. Great guitar player, and going into future Kiss contributed a lot to the non-makeup era of Kiss. But because he was temporary, he wasn't able to use the Kiss branded plectrums, and that's why it's unbranded one. But anyway, onto the gig. It was at Manchester Apollo in the UK. The date, the 4th of October 1984. The price of the ticket, £7 English. Bargain. Now the other thing is on here, plus support band, Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi at that time touring their first album, little known band. There was a bit of talk about them. They just had this single Runaway, which proved to be quite popular. But to see Bon Jovi as a support band in those days, and then, well, I don't actually know what happened to them now, but they were a very good band at the time. So, on to Kiss. This is the tour program. Still features Mark St. John, who didn't get to play. As I said, it was Bruce Kulick that played. And as always, we get the band shots inside. In fact, most of these pictures, I seem to remember, were taken from the Heavens on Fire video. There's Gene with his axe bass, and we've got great lineup shot in the middle there. Also featuring the new drummer. I say new, he'd been in the band since 1980, a guy called Eric Carr. Rest in peace, Eric. Brilliant drummer. So, the Kiss Animalize tour. This was my first time seeing Kiss live. Now, I should have actually seen them live on the previous tour, and I had a ticket to do so. But I'd been a bad boy and had got grounded. One of the most stupid things I'd ever done, get myself grounded just before a Kiss gig. So I had to wait until they came back. They came back in 1984. What am I then? I'm 17 years old? Yeah, 17 years old, seeing Kiss for the first time live. I had row K. Now, at the Manchester Apollo in those days, they started on row C. So row K was very, very close to the front. Hence how I was able to get the guitar pick. And what a gig. What a gig. The excitement for me was just unbelievable to be seeing Kiss live. I didn't care that it wasn't with the original lineup. I didn't care that they weren't wearing makeup. I was going to be seeing Kiss and hearing those classic songs. Some other people who didn't seem to care, I've still got these two reviews. This one from from Kerrang magazine, and this one from Sounds magazine. Reviews of the actual gig at Manchester Apollo, and both reviews, glowing reviews. I think, if I remember rightly, reading them again just recently, these were long-term Kiss fans who, again, would have been brought up in the makeup era, but didn't matter to them. They really enjoyed the show, and one of the things that they point out in both reviews was the set list. Because this was a good mix of old and new era Kiss. We had the classic makeup songs like Detroit Rock City, Strutter, Love Gun, Cold Gin, Rock and Roll All Night, of course, Black Diamond. But mixed in with that were those new 80s era songs. Tracks from the Animalize album, of course, such as Heaven on Fire, and another one I didn't mention, Young and Wasted, which during the gig, even though it wasn't sung by Eric Carr on the album, Eric sung it at the gig. And then, of course, you had tracks from the Lick It Up and Creatures of the Night albums, which had preceded that Animalize album in the 80s. It was a fantastic set list. Great enthusiasm from the crowd, great enthusiasm from the band. And if you want some idea of how hot Kiss were on that tour, there's also a DVD that they did, or VHS video in those days, now it's a DVD, called Kiss Animalize Live Uncensored, that they shot on the American leg of that tour. And again, some Kiss fans, they complain, oh, I don't like it, it's too fast. But that was the whole point. This was a different Kiss. This was heavy metal Kiss in the 80s, competing against the likes of Judas Priest and Motley Crue, and they needed to up their game. They didn't have the makeup and the pyro anymore, so they brought it with a faster, more aggressive Kiss band. And for me, and for many Kiss fans, that video should have really been the Alive 3 album, because we don't have an Alive album that features Eric Carr, officially at least anyway. So there you have it. That's my thoughts on the Animalize era of Kiss. I always leave you with my 4 favourite albums. And Animalize isn't actually one of them, the Kiss albums. If you're new to Kiss, I would recommend that you start with the classic Studio Destroyer album and the classic live Kiss Alive album. They're the 2 starting places. Other recommendations: Rock and Roll Over, Creatures of the Night, and for me personally also Kiss Alive 2. I would throw that in there as well. So, hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please press the red button to subscribe, and I hope to see you again on Greatest Rock and Metal. Until then, remember, we rock!